Hi, my name is Dalton Tremaine, and this is my final presentation for classroom management. The topic I will be discussing is bringing dignity into your classroom and transforming culture. Understanding dignity. Dignity can be defined as caring for students as an individual, from both an emotional and academical standpoint, and adapting towards each student's strengths and weaknesses. Now, dignity is much more than respect, which is something I found interesting and actually learned throughout this process of researching this topic. And respect is something that is often earned, while dignity should be given to all people no matter what. Dignity comes from a humane standpoint, while respect is more towards your actions. And then while applying this to our classroom, we always talked about, especially at the end, looking at students as an individual, right, for who they are, for what they believe, um, for their strengths, for their weaknesses, for their differences, for their similarities, rather than seeing them simply for their actions. Each student is different. It's important that we recognize that. But that doesn't affect how we treat them. We should all treat them as humans no matter what. And one quote that I found that was very impactful was that dignity forces a shift in our understanding of human behavior and relationships. And it's a positive shift, not a negative shift. It's a positive shift to an understanding of our students in our classroom. Now this chart here shows the difference between respect and dignity. How respect is earned, and it's more of an admiration for someone because of their abilities, while dignity is given. All people have the right to be recognized for their inherent humanity and should be treated ethically. The purpose of dignity. First of all, dignity increases community's emotional intelligence. Now, these 2 points that talk about how when someone is able to completely be themselves without concern, it not only allows them to better engage in the classroom, but also allows them to form connections with other students and yourself as well in that classroom. Now, dignity also depersonalizes conflict. As teachers, it can be often difficult to handle situations, especially at the exact moment. But when we have considered dignity into the equation, it depersonalizes that conflict, meaning that we see that we want to change the behavior and we recognize the behavior rather than attacking the person, rather than seeing the problem as the person. And thirdly, it increases creativity and innovation. Now, with the 2 bullet points up top that we already mentioned, along with that, students are allowed to be more creative and be more open in the classroom and collaborate with others because they understand the role that emotion plays and they understand how to properly interact with people when they consider dignity into the equation. Now, classroom management, something I always mention is wanting to have a classroom that has a great community, a community builder. And when we recognize dignity, that is one of the best things that we can do to build our community within the classroom. Students are able to collaborate with one another, understand one another for their differences and similarities, and then work together to be creative and innovative. Now, so far, I found this picture and I thought this kind of summed up dignity as we've talked about so far. It's a deepened understanding of others, especially. We're able to identify and satisfy other needs. We give from the heart. We never patronize. We're able to imagine other people's reality. We're able to tear down barriers and then yearn to collaborate. All important things that we want to involve into our everyday classrooms. Upholding dignity in the classroom. Now, I talked a lot about dignity and its purpose and what it is, and now it's about how do we apply this in our classrooms. And I found some examples that could be useful in everyday classroom. The first one was school supplies for all. There's going to be a lot of challenges that we face every day as teachers. And don't make a student forgetting a pencil a big one, or forgetting a piece of paper. Choose your battles wisely. Always have extras available. Another thing you can do not publicly humiliate your students. Right? If you have a problem with the student, you can address the student respectfully during the class, thank them for complying, and then after class, have a one-to-one. That's the best thing we can do to treat our students with dignity when it comes to disciplinary action. Third, bathroom sign-out sheet. Students shouldn't have to ask to go to the bathroom, right? Set in place a few guidelines and then hand the responsibility to the students. If they have to go to the restroom, let them use the restroom. It's as simple as that. Fourth, snacks allowed. Students, it's hard for them to learn when they're hungry. So allow students to be able to have snacks in your classroom in order to improve their learning, and so that you can not only build a better learning environment within your classroom, but also students are able to be treated with dignity and have a better understanding for you and you them. Last one I found was late work accepted. This is something we mentioned in class, that we need to place more value on the learning rather than the deadline. And that's something that should be thought in all classrooms, high school and elementary. Um, we want our students to be able to develop, and simply allowing them not to turn in late work doesn't allow them to develop at all. Um, and that's something we discussed too. We want to make sure our students are having the best learning opportunity possible. Last thing I want to leave you with is this quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that says, "All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence." As teachers, it's our duty to uplift this idea of dignity into our classroom with excellence. It should be our duty to undertake this responsibility and apply it to our students' lives so that they're able to excel. And we need to recognize the importance of this. This is my presentation on dignity, and these are sources I used. Thanks for listening.